Hey everyone, I'm Rachel,
And I'm Jen, and welcome to Devilish Bookworms, the podcast.
where we read and review books and release episodes every Tuesday.
This week, we have A Curse of Light by Sarah Long.
Yay!
In 1859, the best a woman living in Victorian England could hope for are two things: to marry well and mother healthy children. For Emma Collins, this has been harder to achieve than she and her grandmother hoped. When her heart is broken by the catch of the season, Emma's life is forever changed as secrets from her past threaten to rob her of her future. Dun, dun,
Dun dun
dun.
dun.
So, Rachel, let's dive right in.
So we begin this story in a prologue, and it's from a man named Gus's point of view, but the book is not about Gus, and like you can tell that it's not about Gus. And normally I would hate that. Like normally I would be like, well, what is this POV of a side character that like isn't part of the story? It's very blatant that he's not the center of the story, right? But for some reason, I loved it. I thought it was so cool. I will kind of I'll give you some quotes. But the first one that I'm going to read is to describe Gus's bar. So Gus is the owner of a bar, and he has two people that are in his bar kind of causing trouble, right? A woman walks in and he's like, uh-oh, she's not supposed to be here. Like, this is a rough and tumble bar, like full of dudes. And she's like beautiful and whatever. And so the quote to describe his bar, it says his tavern was a haven for dirty old miners with aching backs and thick beards. It smelled of whiskey, mud, and body odor. Women tended to avoid it. And I was like, I mean, I'd go there.
You know what's the sad part? I thought the same thing.
I was like, oh, sounds like a place where you know, you just
Yep.
be a little crass.
I have an aching back. I like whiskey. I could fit in.
Like, and I should hate this, right? Because of all the times before where I've been like, oh, like this is too much information about a side character that we don't need, like, blah. But I actually really loved it. Like, there's info dumping, and like he's clearly not the main character. It's unimportant. But like there was this bit, and it says, for the thousandth time in his life, Gus fantasized about selling the place and running away to the sea. He'd always wanted to be a sailor, but then he'd think of his ill mother and his sister who needed help keeping her children clothed. The tavern was the only thing he knew and the only way to provide for them. But like, I love it. Like, even later when he's talking about the shutter, like, it's useless information, but there's something like Captain America Civil War about it, where like you follow the story of the main characters, not the collateral damage. But this gave us a snapshot of like the point of view of that collateral damage. And I freaking ate it up. How did you feel about it?
So I was kind of like indifferent about it, only because it was like, yeah, you get this brief moment where you have a glimpse of a character. Not meaning Gus, but they mention a character named Morgana. And it's like, yeah, you get like a blink of an eye, but then it's like you're off somewhere else. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck did that have to do with anything? Like,
Yeah.
I was kind of annoyed because I was like, okay, so what did we learn from this besides the fact that there's someone named Morgana?
No, 100%. Like the only thing we learn is the fact that like this Morgana woman has something to do with this like older kind of unwashed whatever gentleman, and that they have some contention and then they start fighting. That's it. That's all we get from this.
Yep.
And that like I should hate it. And I'm glad that you hated it because I should have.
Well, I can't say I hated it. I didn't. I just hate is a strong word for it. I just didn't need it or want it or like it, but I
I
didn't
dig
hate
it.
it.
I didn't hate it. I just wish it would burn.
Just like that bar did.
That's so funny.
Oh God, I'm sorry. It's just like it's one of those things where I don't want to say I hated it because it was written well. Like
Mhm.
it did suck you in, but at the same time, it like I didn't need it.
Well, and it
So
was out of place.
right, and
Hmm.
the I will say there were quite a few things that felt like they were out of place, but at the same time, it's slightly it's slightly worked in some areas. And this would be one of those areas where for you it worked, which is awesome.
It did. I couldn't, it's inexplicable. Um, so I did, so this book does have a touch of like Arthurian legend, like a touch of like Camelot situation.
Mm,
A touch, a touch. There was a couple, there were a few names mentioned. That's how I feel about like Interview with the Vampire, like the show on AMC. Like there's a touch of Interview with the Vampire. They reused the names.
so before we go a little further, like I want to make a comment because you as you just said, there was a touch, but to say that this was anything Arthurian, let's say not really. I think it's a far stretch to say that it's an anything to do with King Arthur. Nope. I like you hear Morgana, you hear a couple of other names and things that might sort of kind of be connected with that time frame, but I, again, I think it's a little bit of an overstretch to say that it was Arthurian, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but I do have a question. So like we said, we'll dive more into it. I feel like it's the same universe, that like it's like the same realm. Like obviously like Morgana's in there, and what did she say? What did they say his sister Sir what's his name? No, not Sir, Mr. What's his face?
Ambrosius?
Yeah.
Ambrose? Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Ambrosius. His didn't he say that his name or his sister's name was Genevieve or something?
Yeah, and there was a
Which was,
mention of Merlin as well.
yeah, there was a mention of Merlin. So I feel as though like this is book one of four. I have a feeling that we're gonna get there. I just feel like it very much wasn't in this book because of
Okay.
the fact that like so this I mean this is kind of early for me to mention this, but one of the things that like I didn't connect with really well was um there is intention to keep secrets. Of course there is, right? But like
Mhm.
normally when you keep secrets, you give something. There's give and take. Like with a mystery or with, when you're trying to hide something, like you have to give a little and get a little and misdirection and things like that. But I feel like the I feel like the secrets were held on to so tightly that like by the end of the book I was like, okay, but like I have nothing. You've given me like I have nothing, you know? Um, and I feel like that might almost be what's happening with the Arthurian legend as well, or like that Arthurian like tie-in, you know? I think that when we get into the secrets later on, it's gonna reveal itself. It's just being held on to so tightly.
You know, I could see that.
Yeah.
But okay, hear me out. This is one of those moments where when you're reading the book, you have like a moment where um our main character meets Morgana. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but they give like a flash, not like a flashback, but like she pops into Morgana's scene. And I think that would have been a perfect opportunity to like make it like seem medieval and castle-ish, to kind of give it more of a Arthurian vibe. You know what I mean?
But it wasn't. But
I
it wasn't.
know.
So so this book starts off in 1850, what was it, 1859?
Yeah.
And Arthurian legend was way back.
Way
Like
before.
what was it, like 1200, 1300?
Yeah, I
Hold
believe
on.
so.
I should have Googled this. Um, but it's not supposed to be like castles and medieval. So like when we get started, so Emma is in Victorian London, which was, what was it, 18, the story set in 1859, but I think Victorian starts 1831 to 1902. Let me see. According to the Google, in Welsh sources, Arthur is portrayed as leader of the post-Roman Britons in battle against the Anglo-Saxons in the late 5th and early 6th centuries. So like 1200, yeah, so like 1200s to 1300s. Which makes sense when you consider that some of the it's alluded that some of the characters might be thousands of years old, but it's I don't know. Like obviously like it was not meant to be an exact um like I don't know. I don't know. I'm all thrown off now. I'm all discombobulated.
No,
uh,
I totally get what you mean. It wasn't supposed to be cut and dry like Arthurian, which I absolutely get. But she doesn't say that it's an exactly Arthurian, but when you say that people who like Arthurian retellings, you expect to see like more of a medieval feel. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that she based this in Victorian England. Absolutely love that. I felt very much Bridgerton vibes when I first started reading this.
right.
Which again, absolutely love it. But I think,
Bridgerton was in Regency era though.
yeah, I know, but when I was reading it, there was a character called Mrs. Crumbledown, and I was like, "Oh, Mrs. Whistledown." Like, okay, so it brought me like immediately like Bridgerton. You can't be caught with a man without a chaperone, otherwise you were, you know, doing wrong type of deal. So I mean,
Mhm.
I just brought myself to that Bridgerton vibes. Okay. But
Yeah, and it was very much supposed to be that kind of like proper
very
um
much.
yeah, which is in extreme juxtaposition with the, like paganism, for lack of a better term. I'm gonna get so much shit for that. But like that that kind of, well, not, I mean, not really, but that kind of like pagan vibe of Arth,
Yeah, the druids
Morgana,
and all
and
that. Yeah,
yeah.
for
Um,
sure.
so we first are introduced to Emma Collins in basically this setting of she's one of the ladies, and she is out and about, supposed like in society, and she's supposed to um get married and have a family and have good standing. And um there was one part where she talked about like how crazy her mom was, because her mom liked to sit out in the sun and didn't care about getting freckles. I was like, oh, that's all right, that's what we're doing.
Mhm.
um but I have a question, and I should have asked this before, but do you have a favorite like King Arthur like movie or show, or like
Ooh, oh, we're gonna go down that road. Yes. Okay. So, TV show wise, my favorite show is Merlin.
yeah, I still
Absolutely.
haven't seen that.
Oh, it's so good, dude.
I
And
know.
the chick that plays Morgana is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I don't know what she's played in before this, but the way that she captures not only like the innocent vibe at first, but then she goes into the whole like evil fucking bat stabbing son of a bitch. Like brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Hmm.
But also like I love Merlin's character where, he was kind of that nobody that you would ever expect to be the sorcerer or the most powerful person.
Is he like that nerdy kid who's like in all the commercials?
Yes.
Oh.
And then of course you have King Arthur, who is like, just he's not mm, I don't want to say that like not observant or smart, but I mean he's just like he's that typical jock. Like he's more focused on fighting than he is on like his little butler.
Yeah.
But and Guinevere, she's so cute. I love her.
Hmm.
Okay, yes. So that would be my favorite.
I like it.
What
I
about
have
you?
to well actually I have to find a new favorite because for reasons my old favorite is dead to me. But um do you remember Kid in King Arthur's Court?
No.
You don't? It was a Disney it was a Disney movie.
Oh,
Like Disney
okay.
Channel original movie. Oh my god, you have to watch Kid in King Arthur's Court. It was funny. I have to find a new one. I will say that so like Morgana, her name is like different in each telling.
Hmm.
So it's like Morgan Le Fay, Morgan. I like Morgaine. I think that's like the prettiest. Um, I think that's the prettiest one, Morgaine. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I have to go into a deep dive of Arthur retellings so that I can pick a new one.
Yeah, I highly suggest Merlin. Just saying. I mean, um, so I've watched a shit ton of author retellings. Like, you don't understand how obsessed I am, which is why I think I was a little saddened the fact that this wasn't more of that. But that's just me. Like you said, it
It
could
wasn't
be
what you thought.
right, but it could be more so in the next books. That doesn't mean that I didn't like this book because I did actually enjoy it. Like there were moments where I was kind of a little taken back, but at the same time I was actually, not mad at it.
Mm-hmm. Can we talk about that first sentence? The very, very, very first sentence in the book after the prologue is, had I known that wearing grandmother's necklace on that summer evening would prompt my death, I might have opted for my lace choker instead.
Oh, yes.
Uh, I was just like, what a great intro, man. Like it's a little bit of humor, a little bit of like um it was a little witty. I don't know. I just dug it.
For me it was like a ooh snap, like why did a necklace cause your death? Like I need to know.
Yeah.
But in that same chapter, she's at a ball and she's with her friends and she's considered the light, what was it, the light of the
Light of
season.
London. Light
Okay,
of
the light of
London.
London. So
In other words, the diamond of the
yeah,
season.
the diamond of the season. Yeah. Another Bridgerton crossover, huh? Or connection. um but
You know what I thought
so
was weird about that real quick
go ahead.
is that she mentioned that Violet gave her that nickname, right?
Yep.
And then she held on to that nickname like it was an official nickname, like it was
Yeah.
the diamond of the season. Well, I guess next season someone else will have to be the light of London. Why is
Yep.
their best friend going to call him that too? Like it's not a thing. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So while she's like mingling with everybody, there's this gentleman that approaches her, and we'll call him the American. And comes up to her and goes, I don't believe we met. And let
Which
me
is
tell
not
you,
how you are introduced to someone. You have to have someone else introduce you.
so her response was my favorite fucking thing ever. She goes, and I don't believe you will. And
Boom.
just turns. And I'm like, oh snap. Like, I like her. Like, that feistiness, I need that. That kind of vibe I love. But yeah, uh, I was here for that mean girl shit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I just needed to bring that up.
I feel like that was the only time we got it though.
I think there was
Really.
I think there was maybe one other instance, but yeah, she kind of like fell short of being like that sassy girl that we needed.
I wanted her to, and this is just me. This is literally just a me thing because there's room in the world for all FM, all different kinds of female characters, right? But like, I wanted her to be a little bit more assertive. Like, she has everyone telling her what to do and where to be and who to, how to act and where to whatever. Like, literally, like her grandmother and Mr. Ambrosius is like telling her, well, you're leaving town. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. We're going to leave town. And then, like, he's really rude and unpleasant. And, like, she never calls him out. There was one point in the story where she was like, I'm starting to get real tired of not being told what to do or like not being given answers. Or she said something along the lines of, like, you know, you're being rude and I'm getting tired of it or something like that. And I was like, that's it. Like, girl, stand up for yourself. And I know that it wasn't how things were done back in the day, but fuck, man, I was just like, she just rolled over for every single thing that they told her to do. And I just once wanted her to just snap back and be like, no, give me answers now. I want answers. You're telling me where to go, and we're leaving town, and I'm allowed to do this, and I'm not allowed to do this, and I'm 20 something years old. Like, can you give me something, please?
And I will say I agree with you because there was one point where I really wish she would have snapped and she didn't, and I was disgusted.
I do think that at the beginning, she did something. So, like, we're introduced to her best friend, Violet. We're introduced to their other, like, friend. I forgot her name, Felicity or something. But, she, like, the man that she was like in love with comes in with another woman and she needs air. So she goes out to the garden to be by herself and there's like a little bee in the pond or like in a fountain or whatever. And like you can really get a sense of like the two different people. So like she dishes out the little bee and then she's holding it in her hand and the bee's like doing little bee things like trying to clean itself off of the water. And then Violet comes over and smacks the bee out of her hand and she's like, no, it's gonna hurt you. And then like Violet goes away and then Emma picks up the little, or she looks over and like the little bee is safe, like he's on a leaf or something. And she goes, that's one life saved. Then she said, that's one life saved, then that's what I say. And I thought that was cute because I say that all the time. Like when I was fostering the cats, or if I like pick up an animal or like a bug or something, I'm like, oh well, at least I saved one little life.
No,
But
that
then I almost feel like we didn't see that sense of helping other people again.
no, you really didn't. And in that same part, I actually highlighted the same area and I was like, well, that was so sweet. And then I was like, I wouldn't have done it, but at the same time, like only because I would have died.
Yeah.
That's the difference. I just would have died. I I still would have wanted to save the little bee. Okay. So there was this moment. It was actually like still in the first chapter. And I think this is like the only time, as we said, that we see like a sassier side of Emma.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point someone had said to her, um, you really did this is when her boyfriend walked in with another woman, and she goes,
Hmm.
you really didn't know, you poor thing, as if one catastrophe in a lifetime isn't enough. Now you must endure. And Emma snaps back with, I didn't realize you were in the water with me, Miss Edwards, watching them die.
All
Certainly, you were
facts.
most terribly affected. And not only did I love that about her, that she actually snapped back at that point, but I love how she didn't allow anyone to pretend that they knew her pain and
Hmm.
that they felt actually bad for her. She kept saying over and over, I will not let anybody pity me. And I was obsessed with that because a lot of people think they actually know the pain other people are going through, but unless they've been through the situation, there's no way for you to actually feel what that person is feeling or to know what that person is feeling. And I think that was a
Right.
great moment for this Miss Edwards to understand, bitch, you don't know. And oof,
Well, yeah. I mean, you can empathize, but you don't know what they're going through.
absolutely. If you lose a child, no one will understand what that feeling is like without losing a child. If you lose a parent, no one is going to understand what that feeling is like unless they've lost a parent. And like you said, if they can empathize all they want, but it's still never going to put you into that person's shoes. And yeah,
I wonder if that's why I was kind of disappointed in her character in terms of her standing up for herself, because it's almost like right out the gate she was good. Like, you're reminding me that like right out the gate she was kind of um sticking up for herself and like assertive, and then it kind of like went down after they decided that she was going to leave London. Like, she even had a whole plan that she was going to run away, and then was like, oh, just kidding. There was one part where she says, I was about to scold him for his rudeness, but then I noticed who was missing. And I was like, no, you weren't. You haven't spoken up at all this whole book. Like, why would you start now?
I think at one point, like, I just felt like she kind of broke a little too much and just lost all of her fight, you know? It's
I
like
think, yeah.
I'm not trying to like downplay everything else, but at the same time, I mean, there comes a point where you've got so much shit going on that you just like you're like, whatever. It's fine. Fuck it.
Right. And that's totally fair. I think it was for me, maybe that there was so much internal monologue about how, you know, fed up
She's
she
this bad
was.
bitch.
Yeah, she was such
Yeah.
a bad bitch in her head and then didn't say it. Like, I don't mind. Well, not that I don't mind, but like there's something sublimely beautiful about like hitting that point in a book where it's like the character is so defeated, so like, you know, whatever at this point. Like in that Beauty and the Beast retelling.
Oh yeah.
And where the beauty character was like, she was just like, okay, well, like, where are we going now? Like, who's got me now? You know,
Yeah.
but don't be like don't be Xena warrior princess in your head and then not do anything about it.
I think in The Coveted and the Cursed, like, yeah, she did give up, but she still pushed back when she needed to.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Emma did not. Like, so when you see your betrothed walk in with someone else on their arm with their ring on their finger, you're not just gonna like step away. No. Like, even if you were in what she was, like the high society type of situation, I think you would still walk over and be like, oh, and who is this? Like, wouldn't you want to like put yourself in the midst of like, hey, what about me? Or, well, that
I
could just be me.
I feel like that is totally something that you would do, which I would live for. Um, I don't think that I would. I think that I would go the opposite and be uber polite and uber high society, and like very much like, you know, when he's trying to talk to me, be like, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're talking about. Oh, oh, were we, did we have a thing? I don't remember. It was, must not have been that memorable. You know, I would have been like uber the other way. Oh, don't be silly. That was just a, you know, like a first crush. That didn't mean anything, you know.
Oh, yeah, like a oh me love you. Don't be
Yeah, he's
sorry.
silly, man.
I love that. Like, okay, but there was a moment where Violet was oh,
Oh,
hold on a
Violet.
second. I loved her, but at the same time I was like, she is my best friend, but not enough of my best friend.
Mhm.
So she's introduced to this new woman and she goes, a Russian. Oh well, Mr. Jameson, no wonder you left our dear Miss Collins in the dust. We all know how well they powder their hair, which I'm sure leads to a great deal of fun, far more than we English ladies can provide. And I'm like, ooh, like this sassy little thing, I like her. But I I even wrote in here, sounds like something my best friend would do for me, except Violet is a twat with her all-around character, unlike my best friend. I'm sorry. So I loved but hated Violet.
Yeah.
She was just one of those characters. I loved that she was deceptive and everything, like, or not deceptive, but maybe two-faced is more of an appropriate characterization. But I just, I didn't love her. She had her moments, though.
I see what you're saying. I think that the problem with Violet is that she very much thought, and you and I do this to a small extent, but Violet was tried so hard to push Emma into a box. Like, this is what society wants you to be. Like, you're a little bit odd, you're a little bit weird. Why are you wearing that dress? I think that she had Emma's like uh, best interest at heart, but I think that she very, very much went around it in the wrong way, because I think that she was just kind of a bitchy person, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
I almost wish that she had allowed Emma, and again, this is something that we had kind of struggle with sometimes. I wish that she had trusted Emma enough to be her own person and
Hmm.
like um embraced the weirdness that was her, you know.
Yeah, I could see that. But I feel like, in a sense, with her doing that, it allowed Emma to kind of be like, no, you're wrong. Let me prove you wrong type of deal.
Sure.
But every best friend should be more supportive, like you are with me.
Well, supportive, but also have your best interest at heart. There has to be like um that kind of, I mean, there's a checks and balances, right? Like, I 100%, if I'm messing up my life, I need you to tell me, hey, dude, maybe we should reevaluate this, you know.
Hmm.
Give me alternative uh ways to look at things. Give me different points of view, you know, because I don't want to be sitting there flying blind and everyone is literally like, yeah, I mean, we kind of noticed that something was off. And it's like, well, then why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me when we could have fixed things? Why didn't you tell me when I could have done something about it? And now I'm sitting here in this gigantic mess because no one bothered to say, hey, maybe we should reevaluate this,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't think Violet could have ever been that for her, though.
I don't think
She
so.
was, yeah, she was too just involved with herself and these societal needs.
Well, yeah, I think more so she was caught up in the idea that a lot of people have of, is it my place to say? And like, yes, if
Mm.
you love this person, it is your place to say 100%.
I
Just
was just
because
gonna say
someone
100%. Yeah.
like, just because someone doesn't like what you have to say doesn't mean that they don't need to hear it. And the fact that she waited so long to tell Emma that she was, quote, a little odd. Like, don't you think that I mean, I don't know. I feel like that this is things that they should have had conversations about.
Obviously, we're diving a little more into their character than the book does, but it bothered us.
I take being there for someone, especially in a best friend capacity. I take being there for someone very like important, because all these people will sit there and say I didn't see it coming, or I never knew that she was in this much pain. Well, if you had paid attention, maybe you would have.
Yeah. I mean, even her grandmother was keeping shit from her. So, I mean, she was getting it from all around. And I think the worst part was the fact that this gentleman, Mr. Ambrosius, comes into the picture and all of a sudden he's the one to tell her things. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that this stranger to her was more of a friend than any of her actual friends or family was just, it hit me wrong. Because at one point, um, he, I'm not, he wasn't the nicest about it. He would tell her that she was slow, or she was a disappointment, and
I know, what a
it's like,
dick.
he was a super fucking dick. But at the same time, he sat there and told her, like, well, you should be thinking about this more, or you should have paid more attention, or you should have been able to catch on to this. And it was like he was doing it out of the best of his heart, but at the same time he could have totally went about it a different way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's totally dickish.
Yeah. See, to me, something like that is like showing respect for the person. Like, I have enough respect for you to be able to like say, hey, I don't know about this. Or like, I
Hey, you're
feel
being a
like,
dumb cunt.
or like they didn't trust her enough to be able to handle the truth, you know?
Yeah.
I don't, I don't know. And this isn't, I mean, the characters were written, they weren't written poorly. It's just, I just, I feel bad
We
that she didn't have,
Yeah, she didn't have any
it's not the
support.
writing. Yeah, it's not the
No.
writing, it's the characters.
Yeah, no, that's how well the writing was done with these characters, is that we felt so like emotionally irritated by some of their choices and their lack of, or so yeah. So to kind of go along with the Mr. Ambrosius thing, I actually highlighted this. It says the irony of all the saviors one might imagine, all the dashing princes in storybooks, and you're the hero that I'm sent to deliver me from evil. If I was if I was being tormented by some kind of a ghost, well, forgive me, but you would not be the first person I'd expect to save me. But again, here's that stranger coming along saying all the things, doing all the things, and then he's here to save her on top of that. Like, fucking talk about a great character, even though he was a dick.
Man, I love an unlikely hero, or like I love when characters come together and it's like the last person that they would choose, but it's like
Hmm.
now we have this new alliance kind of deal.
Yeah.
I love that.
Now, I don't want to talk about the boyfriend too much, but all I can say,
Richard?
yes, ew. That's all I can say. Just ew.
Oh yeah, no, totally, totally. There was a lot of gore in this book.
Yeah.
A lot of blood.
And a lot of like disturbing moments too.
Yeah.
Not to give anything away, but at one point there's this child apparition that comes to her, and it is just fucking creepiest thing. Like, I don't know what the fuck I would do if I just had like some childlike grudge character appear in my vision of any situation. I could be at a freaking
Yeah, we didn't explain any of that. Like we didn't
no,
explain that she was seeing apparitions and that's why she was leaving town
nope,
to
we
go
did
get
not.
healed.
But at the same time, like, yes, she was having these visions, but we don't want to go in too far about these visions because you got to read the book if you want to know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it.
It's a novella, so naturally there's not really a whole lot of spoilers, but like, I mean, there's enough. So we can't
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah, that would be like the biggest spoiler if we went into details about that. But let's just say there's four books in the series. And this is just book one. Did you have any favorite quotes?
I did not.
Okay.
Did you?
I did. I think my favorite one was the only thing worse than lying to myself for 10 years was learning the lie was obvious to everyone around me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
I always feel bad when I don't have a favorite quote because I feel like people could take it as indicative that I didn't enjoy it, which is not true. But there just weren't any quotes that I just had to, like there was nothing that hit me.
And there's not always going to be, and that's to be expected. I mean, me, I had a favorite, well, I had two favorite quotes because of the fact of one, it hit me, and the other one, it was just like, yeah, I I could I could resonate with that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh the second one was a fate worse than madness, worse than eternal damnation, a fate of nothingness. And it's like, I don't want a fate of nothingness either. Like, did you have a favorite character?
um, no. I mean, maybe no. I
Uh,
suppose the American, you could say.
okay. Honestly, I didn't have a favorite character.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of character development. There wasn't a lot of, I mean, the Mr. Ambrosius was interesting. He was kind of interesting. Um, but I wouldn't say that he was my favorite. Grandma was just whatever. Emma was Jesus Christ. Um, and yeah.
See, Violet would have been mine if she didn't, you know, basically stab her own best friend in the back. But
Violet.
well, yeah, I wouldn't say stab her best friend, but she let her down.
Mm-hmm.
So
Not everyone could be perfect like me.
no, I can't. It's a lot to live up to.
Nerd.
What? I'm serious. Save me from all sorts of shit in my life.
It's so cute. All right. So, A Curse of Light is, again, we said number one of four. And it was written by Sarah Long. And you can find her at her website, sarahlongwrites.com, SARAHLONGWRITES.com. You can purchase her books on her website. You can get to all of her socials. She has a blog, and you can also contact her. She is from California, and you can find her Instagram at Sarah Long Writes, SARAHLONGWRITES, where she posts all kinds of content about her books.
Well, that sounds fun. Might have to go check that out. Well, on that note, I'm going to tell the folks what we're reading next week. So, next week, we are reading The Sharp Edge of Fate by T.F. Johnson.
Yay!
Yeah. This is one of our friends, our thread friends. And, well, I can't wait.
All right, everyone. So if you enjoy our podcast, please give us a like and a subscribe. And you can find us at Instagram and Threads, TikTok, the whole nine at Devilish Bookworms. All right, everyone. Well, we will see you next week.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.